3 months before the end of the year, I got a year-end report from my husband's mistress. It laid out the total number of times they'd hooked up in hotel rooms that year, the number of condoms they'd gone through with accompanying notes, the names of every hotel they'd visited, and more. She'd even specified the locations of their trysts: in the car, in a movie theater, and, unbelievably, in a public park restroom. All sorts of bizarre, off-wall spots. Hey Lana, considering how hard I've worked to keep your husband satisfied, don't you think a 50,000 year-end bonus is the least I deserve? After all, Mr. Holden Jr. has quite the appetite. I've been taking one for the team for you this whole time. I stared at the screen for 3 full minutes, then laughed. I fired right back with my husband's own year-end report. A positive HIV test result. That's when Shannon Reed had a total meltdown. 10 minutes later, my work Slack was blowing up with her frantic messages. Lana Bennett, are you fucking insane? This photo is definitely doctored. You photoshopped it. I get it now. It was you. You washed up old hag. You slept around and gave it to Mr. Holden Jr. I flipped my phone face down on my desk, not even bothering to read the rest. That level of vitriol was nothing compared to the screaming matches we had in the audit department when the numbers didn't line up. A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth as I slowly opened Instagram and typed in her handle. The motion second nature. Her latest post was already up. Guys, my boyfriend's wife gave him HIV. What do I do? Is he gonna pass it to me? Urgent help ASAP. I'm actually terrified the photo attached was the very test report I'd sent her. The comments were blowing up. You sure had no problem using someone else's husband, though. Don't ask the internet. Ask a doctor. That comment had over 99 likes. Another person chimed in. Asking a doctor won't help as much as asking yourself. He was sleeping with you non-stop. What if you're the one who gave it to him? Better get tested to see who gave it to who. Don't go crying to the wrong person when it all blows up. I curled up in my office chair, sipping my bubble tea through a straw, and devoured every last comment. It was crystal clear she was absolutely terrified. Shannon Reed first met my husband, Aidan Holden, over a parking contact number. Aidan had just stepped out of the luxury company car when his phone rang. Sorry to bother you out of the blue. A feminine voice purred. I saw you left a parking contact number, and I watched you walk out of the Holden Group building. I just graduated college and can't find a job. Would you be able to hook me up with a position, sir? Aidan's car windows were always stuffed with random solicitation cards from women trying their luck at gold digging. But this was the first time someone had called him directly. It was obvious what she was after. She'd seen him climb out of a luxury car, and she was hunting for a rich husband. Interesting, Aidan said, and added her on social media right in front of me. She sent photos and a resume instantly. She was gorgeous, with long legs and flawless skin, and her feed was filled with photos of exclusive clubs, designer handbags, and international travel shots. She looked every bit the wealthy heiress fresh off an international degree. After that, they started talking non-stop. Shannon called him every sweet pet name in the book, whining about how her international degree was worthless and how she'd struggled to find a job. Aidan fell right into the life coach role, telling her to keep her chin up and stay positive. In the end, he said he'd get her a position at the Holden Group. I told him flat out I was against it. Aidan just smiled, smug and self-satisfied. This is the kind of talent our company needs, someone who doesn't rely on their family, who's brave enough to reach out and take what they want. He pulled a few strings and got her an internship at the group's front desk. Once they were in the same building, they started making googly eyes at each other every chance they got. A few days later, Aidan started traveling for work with Mr. Harold Holden, the CEO, staying out all night more often than not. But when he came home, he reeked of the exact same perfume Shannon wore. The second I saw him grinning at his phone like a smitten schoolboy, I knew my husband had caught feelings, and I was completely unfazed. Shannon thought she'd landed herself an heir to a fortune, but Aidan was nothing but a fake millionaire. He was the executive assistant and driver to the CEO. On call 247, it just so happened that he shared the same last name as the Holden Group's founding family. When he first joined the company, plenty of people guessed he was part of the family. And the rumor mill had spun it into him being a wealthy Holden heir slumming it for fun. Aiden never bothered to correct the rumor, so everyone teasingly called him Mr. Holden Jr. behind his back. The truth was, Aiden was dead broke and drowning in debt to keep up his alpha CEO facade. He'd maxed out every credit card and taken out every online payday loan he could get his hands on. I'd wanted a divorce for ages, but he'd clung to me for dear life. Now, finally, here was a sucker willing to take him off my hands. Ever since Shannon had latched onto this so-called golden ticket, her Instagram account where she'd built her brand as an independent wealthy heiress had taken a hard left turn. One day she'd post a racy office wear fit, flashing her legs and a low neckline. The next, she'd brag about Mr. Holden Jr. sneaking around behind his wife's back, taking her to the parking garage to get frisky and look for a thrill. She was having the time of her life being the other woman. The wildest part, she'd even launched a course teaching women about sexual charisma, how to lure men in with just a look. Watch this, she purred in a video, twisting her body into an shape. When someone calls your name, turn your head to look at them. But don't move your body. It creates this perfect shape between your eyes and your body. See how much more alluring that is. She'd also set up a shop link on her profile, selling erotic candles and adult toys. She'd gained a massive love-to-hate following, with thousands of people calling her out for knowingly being a homewrecker. She responded with unapologetic defiance. Fortune favors the bold. If there's no love in the marriage, you're the real homewrecker. I'd stumbled across her account by accident, and from that day on, it had become my mealtime guilty pleasure. I followed every post with the enthusiasm of someone binging their favorite show. I laughed as I scrolled through the hundreds of comments on her latest post. She thought she'd climbed her way into the high life, but she'd stepped right into a bear trap. Good luck, sucker. The day after I received that year-end report, I was buried in spreadsheets when the intercom from the CEO's office buzzed on my desk. Aiden's voice came through, tight with barely contained rage. Lana Bennett. Get to the 17th floor private conference room. Now. Wow. Using the boss's intercom to call me, and taking over his private conference room. He was really putting on a show. When I walked in, Aiden was already waiting for me, with Shannon standing behind him. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts, clear proof she'd cried all night. Aiden's face was thunderous. Lana Bennett, are you out of your goddamn mind? When did I ever get tested for HIV? There's no way in hell I have that disease. He practically shoved his phone in my face. On the screen were two images. One was the positive test report with Aiden's name on it, and the other was the original identical document. I'd photoshopped it. Of course. Forging something like this, are you sick? Shannon deliberately sniffled, her voice thick with tears. Lana, I know you hate me, but you can't curse Mr. Holden Jr. like this. HIV is a sexually transmitted disease. Her words were soft and wounded, but her eyes were sharp with defiance as she stared at me. Besides, defamation and slander can land you in jail. Aiden puffed out his chest, barking an order at me. Look at what you've done to Shannon. She hasn't slept a wink all night. Now apologize to her. Right now. I almost laughed out loud. A man who'd cheated on his wife without a shred of guilt. And a mistress who was arrogant and unapologetic, demanding I apologize. I wasn't scared in the slightest. Sure, I'll apologize. I nodded, pulling out my phone and opening the company's main Slack channel. Version 1. Mr. Holden Jr. has been cheating on his wife with front desk intern Shannon Reed, and the scorned wife forged an HIV test report out of spite. Version 2. Shannon Reed sent me a year-end report detailing how she went through 200 condoms and hooked up in over 20 hotels with my husband in a single year. And the jealous wife forged a test report to curse them. I smiled sweetly at them. Which version do you prefer? I'll record a video and post it in the channel right now. Guaranteed to sell the drama perfectly. The smug look on Shannon's face vanished in an instant. Her little affair with Aiden was still a secret around the office. The CEO would never tolerate employees tarnishing the company's image. And if this got out, she'd be the first one fired after all. She'd only gotten the job through connections. Shannon wasn't about to give up her shot at the high life. And Aiden, who was fully convinced Shannon was a wealthy heiress, wasn't about to let her go either. I glanced at my watch. I have an audit department meeting at 9:30, 5 minutes from now. So what's it gonna be? Who's apologizing to who? Their faces twisted with rage. But in the end, they had no choice but to beat a hasty retreat. Shannon shot me a vicious glare, huffed, and stormed out in her heels. I snickered as I watched them leave. After they were gone, I opened my phone's photo album. Inside was a photo of a real, positive HIV test strip. Photoshopping. Anyone can do that. But this one was 100 real. Aiden really did have HIV. But I wasn't about to tell them the truth. The best parts of the show are always saved for the grand finale. After work, I didn't even set my bag down before opening Instagram. My mealtime guilty pleasure had a new update. Clarification. The test report was fake. My boyfriend and I are perfectly healthy. That bitter old hag is just being malicious. Don't believe her. To prove just how clean she and her man were, she decided to go raw from that day forward. She'd posted a video of herself cutting up every single condom in her drawer and purse. From today on, we're gonna love each other the way nature intended. The comments blew up instantly. Holy shit. You're really going bareback. Your mind is open but your brain is checked out. Girl, you're playing with fire here. 2 hours later, she posted another update. Just tried it for you guys. Number 0. 1 millimeter barrier. The feeling is absolutely insane. I hopped in with a burner account and commented, "Aren't you scared of getting pregnant?" She replied instantly, and even pinned the comment to the top. "If I get pregnant, I'm having the baby. It'll be the perfect symbol of our love." Plenty of people in the comments called her the most unapologetic homewrecker they'd ever seen. But she had even more audacity up her sleeve. She revised that year-end report and sent it to my email again, this time with close-up photos of the cut-up condoms attached. "Hey Lana. I'm saving you money on condoms now. Don't you think an extra 5,000 on my year-end bonus is fair?" Unbelievable. I closed the email without another thought. A month before the holiday season, the company's year-end bonus plan was released. Bonuses ranged from 1 to 4 months of salary, calculated based on tenure, position level, and annual performance. I was in the middle of calculating how much I'd be getting when my office door slammed open. Shannon stormed in, demanding answers. "Lana Bennett, where's my 55,000 year-end bonus?" She planted both hands on my desk, leaning in aggressively. I thought I'd misheard her, and stuck a finger in my ear. "I'm sorry, what did you say? Don't play dumb." She tilted her chin up, her tone utterly entitled. "I've been servicing your husband for an entire year. Isn't my time, my youth, worth something? Is it really that big of a deal for you to give me a year-end bonus?" I'd thought she was just messing around with the whole bonus bit, but she was dead serious. I leaned back in my chair, spreading my hands. "Ms. Reed, I think you've come to the wrong person. I'm just an auditor. Who am I to give you a year-end bonus? I'm not a shareholder of the Holden Group. Shouldn't you be asking Mr. Holden Jr. for this? He told me to ask you." This was next-level absurdity. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Aiden, that fake millionaire, had no way in hell to scrounge up 55,000 for her. So he'd just dumped the problem on me, knowing full well I'd say no. That way, he could spin it as the bitter wife making things hard for his poor mistress. I stood my ground, telling her over and over that per company policy, there was no bonus for her. In the end, Shannon stared at me, scoffed, and looked at me with pure contempt. "You can't even make a single decision. You're so useless." With that, she stormed out in a huff. After work, I opened Instagram again, and Shannon had a new post up. A photo of a positive pregnancy test. That bitter old hag wouldn't give me my bonus. But my man gave me an even better one. Our little miracle is on the way. She was pregnant. I was just as thrilled as the comment section. Holy shit. You're actually pregnant. You're insane. Waiting for the rich family drama. The mistress forcing the wife out. But Shannon said she wasn't going to force Aiden to divorce me. Not getting married is how you actually win. Okay. A kid born out of wedlock still has inheritance rights. And their dad still has to pay insane child support. If I get married, I'm just gonna turn into a frumpy housewife. Waiting on my husband and in-laws. Stuck in endless petty drama. I'm not that stupid. If I don't get married, I can be in a forever honeymoon with my man. With all the money and all the love. My jaw dropped. If she didn't push to marry him, how the hell was I supposed to get my divorce? The hundreds of thousands of dollars in payday loan debt Aiden had racked up was a ticking time bomb strapped to my back. When it all came crashing down, my house, my salary, everything I'd worked for would be on the line. Just thinking about it made my skin crawl. No, I had to lock these two together for good. The next day at work, I ran into Shannon in the office break room. She was in a fantastic mood, practically glowing, and looked at me with smug satisfaction. Chloe from the executive office was there too. I held my coffee mug and spoke like it was just an afterthought. Chloe, did you print the first draft of the share split plan? If it's ready, send out the notice right away and nudge the executives and shareholders. We need to get that initial meeting on the books ASAP. Chloe blinked, probably confused why an auditor was pushing for updates on equity matters. But as an auditor, I was involved in the company's internal control processes, so it sounded plausible enough. She nodded. It's printed. I'll send it out right away. Next to me, Shannon's ears perked up instantly. She pretended to stir her coffee and asked casually, "What's this share split you're talking about?" Gossip is human nature, and the other women in the break room jumped right into the conversation. "You haven't heard," one of my coworkers said. "The CEO's getting up there in years. He wants to start grooming the next generation. He's giving a portion of his shares to members of the Holden family who work at the company. I don't know all the details, though, but I heard there were always wild rumors flying around the office." The coworker lowered her voice. "Basically every Holden family member works at the group, so they're all getting a piece. Even if you only get 1/1000%, that's a massive windfall, right? The company's performance is rock solid. We're the industry leader. And we grow steadily every year. Those shares are only gonna get more valuable." I waved a hand dismissively. "It's not that big of a deal. 1/1000% is only a few million in market value. It's nowhere near enough to make you rich. Only a few million. That's not enough." Chloe gasped. Jade from the design department just married a distant Holden relative. That's marital property right there. Lucky bitch. Chloe nudged me. "How much do you think Mr. Holden Jr. will get?" I smiled, putting on a modest face. "Don't be silly. He's not getting anything." The group of women laughed, saying I was just being humble. Shannon was still trying to look calm on the surface, but the greed in her eyes was impossible to hide. Once everyone else had left, I slowly poured myself a fresh cup of coffee. Shannon was treating Instagram like an encyclopedia, posting a question asking her followers the difference between prenuptial assets and marital property. The internet was full of helpful people. All right, see now. Being a mistress gives you zero legal protection. Your man's property has absolutely nothing to do with you, compared to his family's assets. That so-called insane child support is just a drop in the bucket. The guy gets everything he wants. Someone to sleep with, someone to have his baby. And he doesn't have to give up a single cent of his assets. You got played. That comment had over 99 likes. I commented with my burner account too. Not only that, his wife can sue you to get back every single dollar he spent on you. I sipped my coffee. Shannon was definitely panicking now. But it wasn't enough. I needed to turn up the heat on Aiden too. I started accidentally leaving clues around the office. My computer screen would be open to pages about critical illness medical costs, targeted therapy drug prices, and post-treatment recurrence rates, and I made sure my coworkers saw it. When I left work one day, I accidentally dropped a stack of medical records on the floor. A coworker picked them up for me, and I thanked her with a pale, shaky voice. I also started calling in sick more often than not. It didn't take long for the rumor to spread. I had cancer. Friday night, Aiden suddenly came home, with 2 people trailing behind him, Shannon and his mother, Mama Jean. Mama Jean blew into the house like a tornado, making a beeline for the bedroom. After a minute of rummaging through every drawer and closet, she stormed back out clutching a handful of papers, and threw them down in front of me with a vicious slap. Lana Bennett. What the hell is this? The papers scattered across the table. A stack of medical records and lab bills. The one on top was a monthly cost estimate, including chemotherapy, imported medications, and post-treatment rehabilitation, totaling $3,000 to $5,000 a month. I scrambled to gather them up, putting on a perfect act of panic. Mom, why are you going through my things without asking? Mama Jean was a traditional woman who valued money more than her own life. She slapped her thigh, wailing like the sky had fallen in. So that's it. I knew you were being cheap. Eating at the office cafeteria every day and refusing to contribute to household expenses. You've been pouring all your money into this bottomless pit of a disease. You can't even give me a grandchild. And now you've got this money-sucking illness. You're deliberately trying to ruin my son. Ruin our entire family. I lifted my head, leaning into the performance. Mom, don't say that. It's just some abnormal markers on my physical. I haven't been diagnosed with anything. The doctor just told me to look into the possibilities. Look into it. Mama Jean suddenly clutched her chest, gasping like she was about to pass out. Terminal illnesses can't be cured. Hospitals are just out to steal your money. Tell me how much they've scammed out of you already. She gasped even harder, jabbing a finger in my face. Divorce. You two are getting a divorce. Right now. That money is for my grandson. I won't let you, a sickly woman, waste it all. Grandson. I put on a look of blank confusion. What grandson? Mama Jean perked up instantly, shoving Shannon forward in front of her, her face glowing with pride. Shannon is pregnant with our Holden family grandbaby. My precious grandson is not going to be some shameful out-of-wedlock bastard. Yes, I screamed internally, giddy with excitement. This was exactly what I'd been waiting for. The more desperate they were to use this baby to kick me out, the more leverage it gave me at the negotiating table. I had nothing to lose. So now that I'm sick, you're scared I'll be a burden. And you want me to get a divorce to make room for his mistress? Not a chance in hell. Aiden puffed out his chest, trying to look tough. Then we'll see you in court. I wasn't scared. I'm seriously ill right now. Spouses have a legal obligation to support each other. Who do you think the court will side with? You want to litigate this divorce? Good luck with that. Of course I wanted a divorce. But before I signed those papers, I was going to make them bleed. I held up 5 fingers, wiggling them in front of him. I'll divorce you, but only if you give me $55,000 in compensation. And I'll sign the papers today. Surely the great Mr. Holden Jr. isn't short on cash for such a small sum. Shannon's eyes lit up instantly, and she grabbed Aiden's arm, shaking it eagerly, her face full of hope. But Aiden's face turned dark. I knew exactly why. His pockets were emptier than a blank sheet of paper. Mama Jean flew off the handle. 55,000. Why don't you just rob a bank? The first negotiation ended in a screaming match, with no resolution. The next day, I went to work like nothing had happened, going about my day as usual. The only difference was, when I walked past the front desk, I deliberately chatted with a coworker about the share split plan. My coworker looked at me with envy. Lana, you're gonna be rich. I smiled sweetly. No. Don't go spreading rumors about company business. I was counting on the information gap. Shannon, the pretty little front desk ornament, had no way of knowing if what I was saying was true or not. She listened from the front desk, her eyes burning into me like daggers. Filled with greed and resentment. Over the next few weeks, Mama Jean showed up at my house multiple times, screaming and yelling at me to get a divorce. Every time. I refused unless they gave me the money. So Shannon posted about me on Instagram. That bitter old hag has a terminal illness and refuses to get a divorce. She's demanding $55,000 just to leave. What do I do? Urgent help ASAP. The comments were brutal. You're a homewrecker. And you're this unapologetic about it. $55K for a ticket into the rich life and you're complaining it's too expensive. Where's your morals? Drop the address. I'll be the fourth side chick. LMAO. Your alpha CEO knows damn well you and that baby combined aren't worth $55K. That comment hit a nerve. Shannon replied only to that one. That's not true at all. He's just used to maximizing capital growth and returns, not wasting money. Another user shot back. So you admit him spending money on you is a waste. I laughed so hard at the comments I ate an extra bowl of rice for dinner. It was so entertaining. The share split was fast approaching. And the CEO had made it clear it had to be finalized before the holiday season. Shannon's time was running out. Anxiety and greed are the most powerful catalysts. Half a month later, Shannon and Mama Jean showed up at my door again. They threw a divorce agreement down on the table. $55,000. Sign the papers, take the money, and get out. Stop clinging to my son. I flipped through the agreement. The terms were simple and clear. Each party would be responsible for their own assets and debts. No joint property to be split. Clean. Simple. Exactly what I wanted. Mama Jean had scrimped and saved her entire life. And every cent she had went to her son. There was no way she had $55,000 to give. This money almost certainly came from Shannon. And Mama Jean, seeing how generous this wealthy heiress was probably dying to get her married to Aiden as fast as possible. I fought back a grin, putting on a face of pain and hesitation, then signed the papers with a shaky hand. That $55,000. I considered it my year-end bonus, after the mandatory 30-day divorce waiting period. I showed up right on time at the county clerk's marriage license bureau. Aiden arrived holding Shannon's hand, just like I knew he would. The divorce process was fast. The second the stamp hit the paper, I was free of Aiden Holden for good. Shannon burst into happy tears. And right in front of me, his ex-wife. She grabbed Aiden and kissed him deeply. A full French kiss. The clerk processing the paperwork stared at them, stunned. The second our divorce was finalized, they turned right around and walked to the next window to apply for a marriage license. A whole new group of clerks stared at them in disbelief. When we walked out of the building, the sun was shining bright. Shannon held up her brand new marriage certificate, beaming. Aiden. We're husband and wife now, legally. Aiden pulled her close and kissed her passionately, putting on a full PDA show for anyone watching. After they finished, Shannon turned and saw I hadn't walked away yet. She looked at me with smug defiance. Lana. Thank you for giving me such a wonderful man. Don't worry, I'll take good care of him from now on. I stared at the ground, putting on a perfect act of heartbreak. But the second they got in the car and drove away, I burst out laughing. I'd finally dumped that massive burden. Thank you. Sucker. Just as I'd expected, the newly minted wife had to show off her win online. She pinned a post to the top of her Instagram feed, featuring a photo of her brand new marriage certificate. Officially licensed. We're a legal married couple now. All you people who called me a homewrecker owe me 3 laps streaking around the block. Thank you to the ex-wife for making this possible. We're gonna be so happy together. To spoil his new wife, Aiden had pulled out all the stops. He'd booked a luxury hotel presidential suite. And they'd gone wild. The post included a 9-photo grid, a messy bed, a rumpled couch, a disheveled bathroom, a cluttered desk. The internet was absolutely stunned. A real-life play-by-play of a mistress marrying into the rich life. I'm obsessed. Am I the only one who noticed the engagement ring is tiny? Where's the alpha CEO we were promised? I ate my DoorDash combo meal, devouring every comment with glee. Laugh it up. You too. Your real luck is just around the corner. Desperate to cement her status as Mrs. Holden, Shannon planned a wedding in record time. The day she came back to the office to hand out invitations, the entire building was buzzing. Shannon and Mr. Holden Jr. When did this happen? Lana got a divorce. So she's the mistress who married him. Everyone looked at her with open contempt, but Shannon held her head high and walked straight to the audit department to hand me an invitation. Lana, you have to come. Both Aiden and I would love to have your blessing. I smiled. Don't worry, I'll be there. They'd picked a very interesting date for the wedding. The same day as the Holden Group annual holiday party, at the exact same hotel. They said it was for the convenience of the Holden family, so they could go straight from the afternoon party to the wedding reception that night. My coworkers looked at me with pity, whispering words of comfort. Lana, stay strong. That man isn't worth your tears. I waved them off, my tone light. I'm really fine. It's all in the past. The annual party ended in the afternoon, and everyone headed to the ballroom next door for the wedding. Shannon stood at the entrance in a wedding dress covered in crystals, her arm linked through Aiden's, greeting guests with a huge, triumphant smile on her face. But the wedding was about to start, and not a single member of the Holden founding family had shown up. Shannon turned around and saw the head table was filled with hick relatives, all with thick southern drawls. Mama Jean, her hair in a tight perm, was greeting them loudly in her thick accent. Sit down. Sit down. This whole fancy party was all arranged by my daughter-in-law. The relatives gushed. Mama Jean, you're so lucky. I told you Aiden had it in him, marrying a rich, beautiful wife like this. Mama Jean grinned from ear to ear. Oh, it's nothing. Nothing. Shannon's face turned bright red with rage. She stormed over to the table. Who told you could sit here? This table is reserved for Mr. Holden's family. Where are they supposed to sit when they get here? The relatives stared at each other, confused, and didn't move. Mama Jean's eyes narrowed, and she raised her voice. What, Mr. Holden? We are the Holdens. Why can't we sit here? Shannon snapped. I'm talking about Mr. Harold Holden, the CEO of the Holden Group. Not you broke hicks. She turned to Aiden. Frantic. Aiden. Tell them to get up. Get these people out of here. Her voice was loud enough that the surrounding tables went quiet, all eyes turning to the scene. Mama Jean was humiliated and pulled out her mother-in-law card. Shannon Reed. Stop making a fool of yourself in front of our family. Aiden's face was bright red from drinking, and he yelled at her. What the hell is your problem? You still want to marry me, or not? If you don't, there's plenty of other women who will. Just then, a coworker whispered, wait, isn't that the head of the executive office and the CFO? The Holden family is here. Shannon's eyes lit up instantly. She pasted on a huge smile, lifted her wedding dress, and started to rush over to greet them. But then she saw the police officers walking right behind the two executives. The head of the executive office pointed straight at Aiden, his face grave. Officers. That's him. The police stepped forward, flashing their badges. Mr. Holden. We're with the Financial Crimes Unit. You're being investigated for embezzlement. We need you to come with us for questioning. The room went dead silent. Everyone stared, stunned. Shannon froze, her mouth hanging open. Mama Jean was the first to snap out of it. She lunged at the officers, trying to pull them away from Aiden. You've got the wrong guy. My son is a good boy. He'd never break the law. Shannon finally came to her senses and screamed at the top of her lungs. That's impossible. He's part of the Holden family. He's rich. Why would he embezzle money? He doesn't even care about that little bit of cash. The officers didn't listen to a word they said. They cuffed Aiden and led him out without another word. Mama Jean followed, wailing and screaming the whole way. The wedding host stood there, Frozen. The guests stared at each other, speechless. The food on the tables was still steaming. But the groom was gone. It was more entertaining than any skit at the annual holiday party. Everyone else had lost their appetite. But mine had never been better. I picked up my fork and knife and wolfed down the food. That 100 wedding gift. Worth every single penny. The evidence of Aiden's embezzlement. I was the one who submitted it. I'm an auditor. It's my job to review every single transaction the company makes. I'd had my eye on Aiden for a long time. And I'd noticed irregularities in his expense reports. Shannon's year-end report had become the smoking gun for his conviction. She'd listed every single date, every hotel they'd stayed at, every fancy dinner they'd eaten, every piece of jewelry and clothing he'd bought her. And wouldn't you know it, every single one lined up perfectly with Aiden's company expense reports. As the CEO's executive assistant and driver, he traveled and entertained clients constantly. He submitted over $1 million in food and gift expenses every year. No one had noticed when he'd snuck in hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal expenses for his dates with Shannon. I'd gone through every single line item and calculated he'd embezzled at least $300,000. I'd compiled it all overnight, filed a formal whistleblower report, and sent it straight to the head of the executive office. He'd called the police immediately. Shannon was completely overwhelmed. The day after Aiden was formally detained, she stormed into the CEO's office, demanding he get Aiden out of jail. Mr. Holden, you have to save him. Your family. How could you? How could you do this to your own relative? She sobbed, putting on her best damsel in distress act. At worst, we'll take less of the Holden Group shares. The CEO sat behind his desk, staring at her like she'd grown a second head. I happened to be dropping off the final audit report, and chimed in helpfully. Ms. Reed, you should be careful what you say. Mr. Holden and Aiden Holden are not related in any way. The office door was open, and the executive office secretaries were just outside. They were holding back laughter, whispering to each other. No way. She actually didn't know Aiden was just an assistant and driver. Are you kidding? Everyone in the company was joking about him being a Holden heir. And she actually believed it. Sharing a last name makes you family. That's the most desperate relative grab I've ever seen. My last name is Lee. Why doesn't Bruce Lee's family give me a share of their fortune? Shannon spun around to face them, her voice shrill with disbelief. That's impossible. Everyone calls him Mr. Holden Jr. He's one of the Holden Group heirs. Someone snickered. Everyone was joking around. You're the only one who actually bought it. Shannon's whole world crumbled around her. Her face turned sheet white, and she couldn't get a single word out. Just then, someone from HR walked in with a stack of papers, their tone strictly professional. Good. You're here. Aiden Holden has been terminated from the company for suspected embezzlement. This is his termination notice. As his next of kin, we need you to sign for it. Shannon was still in a daze. Her rich housewife dream shattered before it had even really begun. Just then, Mama Jin's call came through. Her voice was so loud, everyone in the office could hear it. Shannon, get home right now, and bring $3 million with you. Shannon clamped her hand over the phone and hurried out of the executive office, talking in a frantic whisper in the hallway. Her face got whiter and whiter by the second. I watched through the glass, holding back a laugh, with Aiden in jail. The dozens of payday loans and predatory loans he'd taken out had no one to hide behind. They'd all come crashing down at once. Naturally, the debt collectors had come knocking first. Now, she finally knew the truth. Aiden wasn't a Holden heir. He was a dead broke loser, drowning in millions of dollars of debt. Debt collector calls were blowing up her phone non-stop, and it was starting to seriously affect her work. Her supervisor had pulled her aside, concerned, but she'd just mumbled that they were spam calls. But she couldn't keep up the act for long. Mama Jean was terrified of the loan sharks, and she'd brought them straight to the company. She pointed right at Shannon, screaming, "She's the one you want. She's my son's wife. She's got the money. Shannon's face twisted with rage. You old hag. Are you insane? The debt collectors, covered in tattoos and looking menacing as hell, cornered Shannon and demanded she pay up. They said they'd camp out in the office all day if they had to. The front desk was chaos. Surrounded by a crowd of onlookers, Shannon's face burned bright red with humiliation. Mama Jean put on her best sob story act. She dropped to her knees with a loud thud, banging her head on the floor over and over, tears and snot running down her face. Shannon, Mom is begging you. Just $3 million. Take it out and save Aiden. If you don't, they'll kill him when he gets out of jail. She laid on the guilt trip thick. If you don't help, I'll bang my head until I die right here. Shannon screamed. That's Aiden's debt. It has nothing to do with me. When Mama Jean saw she wasn't going to budge, she threw herself on the floor and rolled around, screaming and wailing at the top of her lungs. Look at this. This evil wife is letting my son die. She's trying to kill our whole family. There's no justice in the world. I was absolutely floored. I'd known she had no shame, but I'd never imagined she could sink this low. My coworkers, egged on by Mama Jean's performance, chimed in. Shannon, didn't you say your family gives you millions a year in allowance? Just take out a little to help out. Besides, all this chaos is bad for the baby. Shannon's face darkened. I don't have that kind of money. You're so generous. Why don't you give it? The coworker snapped back, annoyed. All those designer bags you carry around every day, even if you sold them secondhand, it'd be more than enough. Mama Jean's eyes lit up the second she heard that. She lunged for Shannon's bag. Yes, sell the bags. Shannon's face flashed with panic. Over my dead body, a distant relative of the Holden family, who'd been watching the whole thing unfold, spoke up. She can't sell them. They're knockoffs. Not just the bag, all the designer stuff she wears is counterfeit. With a real member of the wealthy Holden family saying it, there was no room for doubt. My coworkers exchanged knowing looks. It all made sense now. Shannon wasn't a wealthy heiress at all. She was a fake socialite, building a brand to trap a rich husband. Mama Jean's face turned purple with rage. You little liar. You don't have any money at all. You tricked us into marriage. You owe us compensation. She lunged at Shannon, grabbing her hair and scratching at her face. Shannon snapped, fighting back with everything she had. Aiden's the liar. He told me he was a Holden heir. He ruined my youth. You have the nerve to call me a liar. The two women broke into a fool and cat fight, pulling each other's hair, ripping each other's clothes, and scratching at each other's faces. The debt collectors thought they were putting on a show to get out of paying, and jumped in too. Quit your acting, you bitch. Pay up. The front desk descended into absolute chaos. People were trying to pull them apart. Others were just standing around watching. It was a total circus. The police finally showed up and broke it all up. As the police led the two women away, Shannon screamed, "Broken. You old hag. You and your son ruined my life." Mama Jean was still yelling at the top of her lungs. "Officers, arrest her. She tricked us into marriage." The officers rolled their eyes, clearly fed up to their back teeth. Save it for the station. 2 months later, Aiden's verdict came in. He was found guilty of embezzlement, and the amount was massive. He was going to prison. In the meantime, the debt collectors had been harassing the office every single day. The company had finally had enough, and decided to fire Shannon. She didn't take it lying down. She marched into HR, her pregnant belly now showing, and screamed, "I'm pregnant. This is wrongful termination. You owe me double compensation." HR was ready for her. They pulled out a stack of expense reports and shot back. "These are the personal expenses you and Aiden Holden fraudulently charged to the company. We haven't called the police on you yet, and that's only because you're pregnant. You've severely violated company policy. We're terminating your employment per our regulations, and we reserve the right to pursue criminal charges against you." 2 sentences, and her arrogance was snuffed out instantly. As security escorted Shannon out of the Holden Group building, I called out to her, "Wait." I handed her a postal envelope. These were sent to me because the relevant departments still thought I was his next of kin. They're yours. She grabbed it irritably, and I smiled at her. Sorry, I thought it was my mail. So I opened it. She thought it was some meaningless paperwork, but the second she saw what was inside, she froze like she'd been struck by lightning. All the color drained from her face. It was a notice from the correctional facility. Aiden's intake screening had come back positive for HIV. Aiden had been messing around with random women ever since he'd started driving the CEO's luxury car. Ever since those solicitation cards started showing up on his windshield. He'd been dirty for a long time. Lucky for me, I'd been smart enough to never let him touch me again after I'd found out. Shannon, his so-called true love, was a different story. She'd cut up all her condoms to go raw, and now she'd trapped herself in this mess. I looked at her swollen pregnant belly, my tone soft with fake concern. Oh. Right. I warned you about this before. You've gotten started on unfiltered child HIV transmission prevention. Right. I smacked my forehead. Silly me. Of course you've been going to your prenatal appointments. There's no way you wouldn't know by now. Shannon stared at me, her face flushing bright red then going white again. Her whole body started shaking. I knew it. She hadn't gotten a single prenatal test done. She'd even posted about it on Instagram, spouting her holier-than-thou take on natural childbirth. Ultrasounds have radiation. I don't want to hurt my baby. The top comment had replied. The ultrasound didn't radiate your baby. It radiated your brain. In that moment, she snapped out of it and screamed vicious curses at me. You photoshopped this again to trick me, didn't you? Lana, you evil bitch. Why don't you just die? I shrugged, unbothered. Whether I faked it or not, the phone number and address are right there on the form. You can call and ask for yourself. Shannon's face twisted with terror. She stumbled down the steps and ran off as fast as she could. I didn't have to guess where she was going. She was headed straight for the hospital. I hummed a song as I walked back to my office, in the best mood I'd been in for years. When I got home from work, I drew myself a warm bath, then flopped down on the couch and opened my phone. I had a new project to work on. Reporting. I used multiple burner accounts to report Shannon's Instagram account, citing that it promoted inappropriate values, glorified infidelity, and featured racy, explicit content. It didn't take long for her account to be permanently banned, but her legend lived on online. The people who'd followed her drama were devastated and made new posts about her. My guilty pleasure internet obsession is gone. New insider here. She used to work at my company. The guy wasn't rich at all. He was faking it. And she wasn't a wealthy heiress either. Also fake. A fake millionaire and a fake socialite. They really were a perfect match. Some people even turned her whole story into a case study on romance scams and legal education, which spread like wildfire across Instagram. I closed the app and stretched. I'd taken out the trash. My world was finally clean, and it felt damn good.